Your one true love, Greg's. Do you not remember that one?
That's a great joke.
I wish I'd put that in again now.
Oh, that's really good. I like that. Oh, God.
Hello, welcome to Podcast vs. Player, episode 246. I'm one of your hosts, Callan, as always. I'm joined by a man who saw a man had died when he fell into a giant coffee cup. Didn't suffer, though. It was instant. Hey, bloody Dan.
Hello.
Hello. It is Wednesday, and you know what that means?
Ahsoka Day?
Ahsoka Day, Ahsoka Recap Day, assuming that you've watched it.
Yes.
Yes. But that's not what we're not going to do that now.
We don't do that neither.
Exactly. I got some big, fat, juicy, leaky news.
Oh, my lords. You mentioned yesterday, you were like, I've got a big thing for the podcast tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I may have already been aware of it. So,
How
lay
about
it
it?
on me, Big Daddy.
So, Microsoft accidentally leaked their own internal emails.
Oh, no, I am not aware of this. This should be good. Hold on. Let me just have a sip of my delicious bar cream soda, which the shop next door have just started selling, so well done to them.
This week's episode bought by the shop next door to Dan. No, it's not. What do you buy? Five Fine. And their brand new K669D microphone. There'll be a thing in the middle where it'll pop up and tell you all about it.
Yeah, but we've actually been sponsored to talk about that. I want to get sponsored so that they send me more cans of cream soda. But
well, on the next one, take your laptop and we'll do it. We'll do the episode in the shop. see what they say.
Yeah.
We also need to get your laptop. I don't think you get your PC down there. Anyway, we're moving away from the exciting stuff. So, the ongoing FTC case with Microsoft and the FTC.
What, the Blizzard?
Yeah, just buying everything up left, right, and centre. They had to upload some documents, and they uploaded the wrong documents, and now they've been leaked. So, amongst other things, there was a new iteration of a controller, a diskless Series X console that looks like an Amazon lady. Looks like a smart speaker. Some other interesting nitbits that aren't as interesting as what they were going to do before they bought Bethesda.
Were they going to buy Sony?
They were going to buy Nintendo. Well,
No, they weren't.
No.
Because trying to do that, I don't think even they've got the money to do that.
Well, so basically, this goes back as recent as 2020, while also discussing a potential purchase of TikTok.
But no, that's it. Like buying TikTok, it's a fad thing. Like in 10 years, no one's going to be using fucking TikTok.
I assume that's why they haven't. But it goes into buying Nintendo, and these are direct quotes from Phil Spencer. Where he labels Nintendo as the prime gaming asset. I totally agree that Nintendo is the prime asset for us in gaming, and today gaming is our most likely path to consumer relevance, said Spencer. I've had numerous conversations about tight collaboration and feel if any US company would have a chance with Nintendo, we are probably in the best position. So the unfortunate, again, quote from Phil Spencer, the unfortunate, or fortunate for Nintendo, situation is that Nintendo is sitting on a big pile of cash. They have a board of directors that until recently has not pushed for further increase in market growth or stock appreciation. Also, I'd like to point out, Nintendo has the highest market share of gaming. So I don't know what he's talking about.
That's what I mean. Just like you can go into that conference room and you can try every which way. They are literally holding all of the cards. They don't need a fucking penny from you.
No, absolutely. I mean, their market capital it is further on here, 45 billion. Normally, it takes twice as much to buy a company. So obviously, Microsoft could afford 90 billion.
But that would be Microsoft, not Xbox.
Yeah.
So Microsoft would have to write big baby Microsoft a big fat check, and they'd be like, we wouldn't see a return on that for 50 years. Like the gaming industry would die on its arse before we got to that point.
There's no like Nintendo will never sell ever.
No,
they'll run themselves into the ground before that happens.
But there's a difference between like buying up developers or publishers, to be fair, but buying your entire competition. Like if you want to think about it realistically, there is only 3 real candidates. You know, there's Sony, there's Nintendo, and there's Microsoft. Obviously, there are other players, but not within the position of being able to buy each other isn't a thing. If you've got the FTC and you've got our government for a start saying, sorry Microsoft, no, you can't buy
Blizzard.
This developer, this publisher, because they're quite big, and you can't. You're taking up a bigger share than you probably should do. To say, hey, can we just buy up an entire competitor? They'd go, absolutely not.
No
like even if you could, even if they wanted to, I don't think that commerce would allow it.
It wouldn't go through.
And I don't think so. No.
If anybody was in a position to do, not in a position, but if anybody was going to do it, it would be Sony and Nintendo.
I guess
the 2 Japanese giants.
Yeah, but it would be. I think it would be like a mutual partnership.
That's what I mean. Sony wouldn't be able to afford Nintendo anyway.
But Sony is that their PC games are coming out now.
Yeah.
Maybe if the market is weakening in one direction, weakening is probably the wrong word, but they're letting down a few more guards. They're saying, well, maybe we start. The PC market, it's huge at the moment. It's only getting bigger. Are people moving away from a console when you can just buy a PC and you've got?
I don't think we'll ever be in that.
I don't know, but if you think about it, it's not only everything that's being developed for PC now, but it's the entire catalogue of everything that's ever come out on PC will still work on it. Whereas if you buy a PlayStation 5, you might not be able to play every PlayStation game that you may have already owned or bought or whatever.
Potentially, yeah, but it's just that plug and play nature. It's buying a console it's not a cheap experience, but it is easy, and you can get your nan into gaming. You can get fucking young kids into it, and aesthetically, it looks better under your telly than
the problem with it is
though,
if you think the sort of like the top trumps mentality that a lot of people have got, it'll always be but the Switch does this and it's got extra points in this. Oh, but the PlayStation does this. It's got better hardware. Oh yeah, but Game Pass or whatever. But with PC, it's not just the games that are available. It's the PC itself. So it's like, I've got this component, I've got this component, I've got this cooling system, and that looks cool, and people like that looks cool, so they'll go out and buy the same sort of thing. So it's just the building side of it itself, like building the machine, is a part of their culture.
That's took a massive landslide over the last 10 years or so. Like a lot of people are buying pre-built nowadays.
But a lot of people are also, because of the sort of the universal nature of all the components, it's like you don't need to have a basic understanding of soldering and electrical engineering or whatever to build a computer. You plug it in the slot, and it turns on, and that's pretty much all you need it to do. But people they'll spend £1,500 to have this incredible PC. It looks amazing, and then they'll just play Fortnite on it.
Yeah.
Like they're not really using it, but it's because it's part of the culture. It's like it's the same with cars. Like people will spend thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds on cars and like upgrading and tweaking and body kits and whatever, and they use it to go to the shops.
Yeah.
Or they go to their mates or whatever, and they all sort of stand around and go, "Oh, well, that fan system's that's really good," and then they don't do anything with it. They're not building a car to drive Formula One races
it's
with.
It's for looks. It's not for anything other than looks, and it's an expensive and stupid thing to do. I was asked by someone, it was their kid's birthday, and they're like, "I want to get my PC. How much would it be to like replicate yours? Like everything, like monitor, cameras, fucking everything." I was like, "Too much. Let's buy him a PS5 because he's just gonna play Fortnite and Minecraft." So, it would be ridiculous to spend this kind of money on a child. It's fucking stupid. Now,
unless it's surgery or something.
No, I mean for a PC. That's what I mean.
So Don't let them get the surgery and buy yourself a PC.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
Cut corners.
Gotcha. And plus, with no kid around, you can play it all the time.
All the time.
Great.
But, I mean,
Dan's top tip of the day. Let your child die of medical conditions so you can use it to buy computer stuff.
but no, but they want it because they'll sit and they'll go, I want that camera and I want the lights and I want this and I want that and I want that. No, you don't. You're trying to copy your favourite YouTuber and fucking content creators setup. That's what you're doing. You don't need any of this fucking stuff. And
it's a status thing, is all it is.
And that's the same with your thingy for cars. Like, people want to be noticed going to the shop in this ridiculous car when they've just spent more money in fuel than they did on the contents of what they bought from the shop, which is stupid. However, what's worse about this little sneaky email thing is where the bloody hell is it? So, again, a quote from Spencer. I don't think hostile action would be a good move, so we're playing the long game. But our Microsoft board of directors have seen the full write-up on Nintendo and Valve, and they are fully supportive on either if opportunity arises, as am I, said Spencer. At some point, getting Nintendo would be a career moment, and I honestly believe a good move for both companies. It's just...
It
gets
I'm
worse.
Sorry, but I completely disagree.
Worse. It's just taking a long time for Nintendo to see that their future exists off of their own hardware. So the fact that Phil Spencer knows better about the company than Nintendo does. But what gets worse is the email reveals Microsoft board member Mason Morfitt, who is the president of investment company Value Act, has been heavily acquiring shares of Nintendo. Spencer suggests that this could create opportunities for Microsoft, as if he buys enough shares, he can begin to try and influence Nintendo into looking more favourably at a possible acquisition by Microsoft. I assume that's since changed when Nintendo's lawyers were right. No more. Stop selling these shares.
Outside of Japan, certainly.
But yeah, it's very sneaky.
That is that's this one thing to take a contract to a table and say we'll pay you X amount, and we want the company, everything you own, the building, the chairs you're in.
Yeah.
We'll own it all. You name your price, and we'll work it out. And they go 50 billion or whatever. But to say we'll just buy up every shred of the company that we can until we can start to force you into our decision making. I imagine that is something that happens a million times a day in the business world. That's how you just sort of. It's not like you say. It's not a hostile takeover. It's not just sort of like going in and just brute forcing it and saying we're going to make you an offer so stupid you can't refuse it. Because it would make all of you millionaires, and we keep all your staff, and everything would be great. And you would look like the bad guys if you refused it. So I get that, if you don't want to do that or you don't have the money to do that, maybe you sort of go down sneakier routes. But to try and influence, Nintendo was one of the only survivors of the original kind of, gaming wars, if you want to think of it like that. All the competition that was out there.
Nintendo and Sega were the original Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah,
Over the PlayStation being the original PlayStation, but you know what I mean.
No, but there was still a lot of other competition that was kind of
Atari
scrabbling for bits. But again, Atari they were the biggest, and then even they fell, and then Nintendo was the main survivor that's still around today, realistically,
and doing very well as well.
But that's exactly my point, is that they haven't squandered it. Now, I'm still very much of the opinion they don't do much with what they've got. I wouldn't say it's formulaic, because that would be wrong. They do new things, but they're
sensible.
It's always around the same. They go, well, everyone likes Mario, and we've had Mario for 50 years, and he hasn't let us down yet. So we'll just do Mario, and we'll do Zelda, and we'll do Metroid, and we'll do all these kind of staples, and that makes sense, and I get it. I just think that go for some bigger swings, do something different. I mean, every time that they do a new Mario, they do a new Zelda, they're great, and I can't knock it. You can't go, well, yeah, but it's just another Zelda. But look at every Zelda, other than probably like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They're probably the most
but
similar.
they're direct sequels though, so
exactly, yeah. But since that point, though, everything is different. It's a big jump or whatever, but it's all still based around that same thing. Which, again, maybe a lot of others are doing as well, but they have a lot more third party in sort of filtering out like just their own first party exclusives. But I would never want to go on Game Pass and be able to play all Mario games. Like, that would just be the weirdest thing. It would be so odd.
This week's episode is brought to you by Fifine and their K669D XLR microphone. K669D is an excellent choice if you're upgrading from a USB microphone. You don't want to break the bank. With an all-metal body and grill at only $39.99, it offers tremendous sound and build quality at a really affordable price. Head to podcastversusplayer.com/review to see more. Now, back to the podcast. Anyway, enough about your Microsofts and your Nintendos. It's Ahsoka Day, Dan.
It is.
We're all caught up. Episode 6. And I'll say straight off the bat, Dan, I was very annoyed at the beginning. Because we're on about like the old stories that they used to tell at the temple. And then he starts to tell the story. I was like, this better not be a fucking story episode, where it's just telling us a random fucking story from the Jedi Archive. It didn't, luckily. But obviously at this point we only had 3 episodes left. This one and then the next 2. And I honestly thought that this one was just going to be a nothing episode. I was like, fuck off.
See, I had the opposite thought when he was saying like, oh, I've got like the history of the galaxy, whatever sort of thing, And she's like, yeah, okay, well, tell me one of those stories then. And he goes, right, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Love that.
It's canon now.
There was a Jedi Master called Revan.
No.
And I was just like, oh, I swear to God, if you're dropping it in as like, sort of like a story, and then it's like, like a message comes in and it stops it or whatever, I'd shit my pants.
What if you just said that there was a Jedi called and then it cut off? Didn't even say Revan, so we didn't even know.
No.
Could have been.
Don't cheap out on it. Say it or don't. But again, it's another episode, and she's not in it.
I think it's going down the Boba route where.
But that makes sense because that's not very interesting. And like, comparatively, Mando and the story and the Luke and getting Ahsoka and like all of that, it's not placed in it, but it saved it.
Yeah.
Frankly, this like she's great. Like I don't like that last episode where it was like her and Hayden Christensen and like all that flashback stuff and the Clone Wars stuff. That's probably the best episode.
What would you have had her done in this episode?
Well, it's kind of what I was hoping that they do the last time. That they didn't just go, and here, they just arrive at like the planet where Thrawn and Ezra are. Like they get just like they had to do a bit of planet hopping.
Well,
they could have just But that's my point. They just happened to get to the exact planet that they were going to.
Oh no, they did because that's what it was set up for. They had the coordinates and everything, so they could.
The bad guys did. So they would have to go there immediately.
Yeah.
But Ahsoka, he was like, "Oh, we're going the right way," and she's like, "I think so, I hope so."
Don't know where we're going.
But that's what I mean. Like, if it had arrived in and gone, "Oh no, I know the planet you're on about, but that's like halfway across the galaxy." They just the whales were like, "We'll take you some of the way, but you'll have to figure out the rest on your own."
It's like fucking Pergaloo, but
exactly. But it's sort of like it's like hitchhiking. They'd be like, "Well, we're going to that galaxy, but we're not going to go to the exact fucking planet that you want to go to."
It was interesting that they said that like this particular planet is where the Purgle go. Or it's what kept annoying me. I kept calling them space whales. They're called Purgles. Just use the fucking name. You made the name. But it's where they go to die. So does that mean that if they're taking Ahsoka there, then they're just going to mill about and die?
No, I think they just go in there because she's asked them to take them there.
And then they'll fall off.
But what I didn't understand from that, and which again it might be explained, I don't know, but they said that the Dathomirian or whatever they call
the Night Sisters.
Like their ancestors, they learned to tame the Purgles, and that's how they left that galaxy and came into the regular galaxy. Which is that makes sense. But how would you do that if the only reason they were there is to die?
Well, that brings me to another point, Dan. So, the stormtroopers that
Love that.
got.
Those weird, like cult stormtroopers.
Well,
Crazy.
I have a theory, Dan, and I don't know whether I should say it, but you kind of touched upon it, and well, we'll see if you've had the same thought based on. So when they're packing up the ship, ready to go, what looks like coffins.
See, that's the thing. Yeah, I thought, okay, well, what is that? Those don't just like look like your standard cargo containers. They look like they're either like life pods or like storage, like cryo storage or something like that. It didn't just look like, oh, this one's got pasta in it, and that one's got guns in it, and that one's got batteries. Like, you know, the big storage cargo, you know, they're in like giant square, easy to stack. I imagine they very much look like there's people in there.
Yeah, and they kind of touched on it a little bit in the episode, like they mentioned it a couple of times, and then he's on about like borrowing the power. His forces have dwindled since they've been here. He hasn't got as many people that he used to have. I've got a feeling they're dead, and the Night Sisters are bringing them back to life. Potentially, that could be what they did with the Purgles, which is how they were managed to control them.
Okay,
so they didn't tame them in the same way that Ezra could. But now it's a dead whale. Use their fucking Night Sister dark magic to reanimate it, bring it back to life, and then control where they're going.
Yeah, I mean that would be perfectly plausible. If that's what they said, they go, oh, they've got the power to reanimate the dead. Sure.
Which
I also like the fact that the rings of that planet are just dead Purgle bones.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I love that.
I think aesthetically it's a really cool.
Yeah.
Not very Star Warsy place, but like in a good
giant
way.
Floating whale graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like more like the Lion King or something. But I like the little cool Ninja Turtle crab things.
I couldn't tell how much of that was CG and how much of that was like model work, like practical work. They were really, really well done.
I think when you first see them, and then the weird fucking horse / dog / duck / platypus thing.
It's like a platypus dog.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Horse thing. Love that.
I think I liked it, but originally because I was eating.
It's better than a fucking blurg, I'll tell you that.
Well, I was having my dinner at the time, and I missed it because I was looking at my plate because I had gravy, and I was like, I had this on. I was like, I don't want to get fucking dinner all over me. So, so I went, oh, Lothwolf. And I went, ah, fucking cool. But I didn't see it. And then we saw that thing, and I went, that's not a fucking Lothwolf.
No, they're big and white and look like normal wolves, don't they?
She said there was like when it was like.
Also, they're in a different galaxy.
Exactly. This is I was like, but Ezra's there, so potentially.
What, he brought 1,500 of them with him?
Lothwolves can travel through the Force. In Rebels.
But then why would they be Empire horses?
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
shut up, Zoe.
It wasn't one anyway. But I think that one was a CGI, and he's like, man, and like goes into his shell. But then when they're in the little village thing, and you had the little like baby one in a hammer, that was 100% practical. That was. You could definitely tell.
They look great. Like again, for a TV show, like there's not a bad effect in this at all.
I mean, there was a couple like when oh god, I forgot his name. Oh my days, what's his name? Slightly evil, dark Jedi.
Ray Stevenson.
Yeah, but his character.
Oh, Balin.
When they're riding out, that was quite shit. The CG looked real bad on that.
The close up the top down was alright. Like as they're running away
Sabine
from
looked
that
alright.
castle thing.
Like when Sabine was riding, it wasn't too bad at all. But for some reason, that shot of them pair coming towards you didn't look good at all. But again, it was still if everything else was 10 out of 10, that was a 6 out of 10 shot. It still didn't look awful. But I think in terms of an episode, I liked it. Again, we had another reasonably long one, but we've only got 2 episodes left, and it doesn't feel like we've got any. I know, like, obviously, big spoilers for episode 6 of Ahsoka, but obviously we've got Ezra now, we've got Thrawn now. But obviously, Balin's been given the task to, if she finds Ezra, to fucking kill them both. That's obviously not going to happen, but
no, but because that character, like Ray Stevenson's character, I really liked him from the outset. Like he looks like just this unit, this absolute machine. But he's growing on me more now, because he's not like a Sith wanker who's just sort of like, shut up, apprentice, you do what I tell you. And he's not like, oh my god, let's save all the whales or whatever. He just seems like he's an opportunist. Like, you know, they're called mercenaries. I'm pretty sure we said that at some point. It was like, you know, they just seem like they're in it for the money.
Yeah.
So again, that's fine. They're just force sensitive, but they're not following like a religious code. They're just sort of going, we'll do what we do to get by. Sure. But he seems like he's actually like a mentor, like he's teaching her, not just sort of like, oh my god, you fucked up or whatever. And again, it's kind of like, it kind of harkens back to like when in the previous episode when Ahsoka, like when it's the flashback of her in the Clone Wars, and like she's making decisions like in battle, and she's like clearly a kid, and she's way over her head, and she even says like, this isn't why I joined the Jedi. It's not to be a battlefield leader or whatever. And it's nice to see him just sort of like, she's like, oh, you know, why are you know, what's wrong? And he's just sort of like, he explains, like he talks about himself, and he's like, you know, he's like, I've got plans for us here, you know, we can do good things, whatever that is.
Well,
I'm more interested in that than the whole Night Sisters Thrawn return, whatever. Again, what are you going to do with one Star Destroyer, mate? Shut up.
The problem is, well, no, it's the Chimera, isn't it? That's the ship that he personally customised.
Yeah.
We've never seen it in this before. That's what it will be. It'll be the Chimera, which is like better than a Star Destroyer.
Is it better than the entire Rebellion? Well, not even the Rebellion anymore. Like, I mean, the new Galactic Order.
I would say so.
He says that he can't go, well, I don't want to send more than 2 squads after these Jedi because I haven't got enough troops. But you're going to come over and conquer the galaxy? Yeah, of course you are, mate.
Yeah, but what's the Rebellion going to do? They can't even fucking keep fucking Sinjula in line. So, and
yeah, but they've got plenty of ships.
And when they've had problems in the other shows, Mando's had to go and save them. So.
But the only thing I think is like, if he showed up and then put out the call to arms, all those people that were always just sort of like, yes, I renounced the Empire, definitely, and the Empire, boo. They'd be like, Thrawn's back.
Yeah,
get me that grey uniform back on.
Yeah,
let's
they'll
do
jump
it.
Ship immediately. But the negative to that is you've got Ahsoka, Ezra, Sabine is supposedly
Luke.
Force fucking sensitive now. Luke's fucking milling about. Who else we got? Obviously Mando,
Grogu, I guess.
Boba
Cal.
Fett. We've got everyone else who's been in a show, and people like Cal Kestis, who hasn't been in, but it's only a matter of time. They wouldn't stand a fucking chance. They struggled in the movies, and then they had one Jedi. So you got all of these other ones. One of them being of obviously Grogu being of a species that is the most Force-sensitive species in the entire galaxy, and he's only a baby, so he's only got powers to grow and grow and grow. So Thrawn don't stand a fucking chance. However, Thrawn was excellent. I still don't think he looks good enough.
I agree that from here up, perfect. Like the blue skin, the eyes, like the way he spoke. I think he spoke a bit too fast in places, but he still had like a thought behind everything he was saying.
It is him from Rebels. That's who voices him in Rebels.
Well, then that's perfect. Yeah. Absolutely perfect then.
Mr. Mickelson.
But from the sort of shoulders down, like he was still kind of like quite a tall, imposing, slender kind of guy. And this guy, and I'm not calling it out again. His performance was fucking spot on. Like again, in terms of like deliverance and stuff like that, I didn't realise. I just thought, oh, okay, well, this guy's clearly been paying attention to whoever's animated it, like done the animated thing, because he nailed it.
Like he sounds
makes sense,
just like him. Like Fucking
Yeah,
should. It's the
exactly,
same guy.
But then I don't understand why they didn't do that with like the fucking Grand Inquisitor fella.
No idea. I don't know what he looks like though. I don't know who voices the.
Doesn't
Grand
matter. It's all prosthetics. Just make his head a foot taller and just cover him in makeup.
That was the
or
biggest
whatever.
problem with him, was the fact that they made him look like Thingy from Red Dwarf, and
Crichton, yeah.
but like
Crichton and Fester.
But it's the same with Thrawn. He's in the show. I know nobody exists that looks like that, but he's got a very slender face, but he's quite tall. And
But he's also got that kind of like, you know, sort of hourglassy kind of, you know, he's quite sort of top. He's not a shredded unit.
No.
He's, you know, he's a strategist. You know, he's brilliant. And this guy, but I imagine that they couldn't go to this guy and say, "Do you want to work out for 6 months for this 3 episodes?" That you're like, absolutely fucking not. Like, I'll come in and I'll nail it. But I think if I was the cinematographer, I'd have had like all those build-up shots where it's like walking from behind, you're getting the boots, you're getting the stupid trousers that he's wearing, and then you just keep it sort of neck up from that point onwards.
Well, that's what.
Because like that profile view, I was just sort of like, ooh,
that's the only bit that did, and I fully agree. And again, no disrespect to I can't remember.
No,
his
not
first
at
name.
all. Again, like I hope that he, even if they said, "Can you try and lose a bit of weight?" You went, absolutely fucking not. Like, this is what I look like. If you want me in it, you get me. I'm not going to go and do a Henry Cavill workout 6 times a week.
No,
just
definitely
to...
not. No, and but what ruins it is Thrawn is all about. So he's menacing in the same way that Ray Stevenson's character is, where he doesn't raise his voice or anything else. He's cool, he's calculated, and I'd say he's probably more menacing in this, just because you get to see a bit more emotion in the eyes and stuff when he's talking. But it's like his uniform doesn't fit him, and that's not Thrawn. And I would prefer if they just made the costume way bigger, and so it was dead baggy, because he's been stranded on this fucking planet. So he's a little bit like he's lost a lot of weight and stuff like that, and just do it that way. I don't know, but the only thing that ruined it was like the physique, and that shouldn't matter. But for somebody like Thrawn, where it is such, he hasn't got anything else. He's only got his imposing nature. Like, you can have you can have fucking Darth Vader show up in fucking flip flops. Makes no fucking difference, because he'll kill you.
Yeah.
But to the point of like, even the Night Sisters listen to him. He can't do anything to them. At most, he can shoot them, but
Try to.
yeah, they'll take him out. I don't know who like the gold storm, like the stormtrooper, like the Japanese mask. It's the mask itself looks very reminiscent of like the Night Sister masks that they wore in the Legend. So it could have, could have something to do
that's
with
what I get the sense of. Like, they've kind of come to blows over the years or whatever, and they've kind of pieced their armor back together with like just shit that they can find.
Well, that's what they do in old Japanese folklore, isn't it? To show it's been repaired rather than try and make it
it's
look
like
pretty.
like when they break like a teapot or something
Yeah.
like that, and then you fix it with gold, and
Yeah.
it's the same, but it looks way better.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's the same thing they did with Kylo Ren's fucking helmet,
Yeah,
and they just
use that red
pieced
stuff.
it back together. Yeah, but these look way scarier.
Yeah.
And also the fact that when they're putting Sabine on that dog platypus horse thing, and they're just like, right, here's your supplies, here's your map, here's your guns back. Die well,
Yeah.
because it's like, you're not coming back, so we'll see you later. Also, I tell you what, I genuinely, I think that is probably my favourite episode, which I'm annoyed about, because again, it's not about Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So the best Ahsoka one is the one before, but possibly the best episode so far is this one. Mainly because like Ray Stevenson and like his apprentice, like,
Everyone was in it.
I dig their chemistry, and I think he's really good. And again, he looks very and that beard's incredible. And like, he looks like he would just tear you apart with little to no effort. And like, she's really good, but not like in a sort of like weird Sith sort of Weasley kind of like, you know, she'll stab him in the back one day.
I still can't figure out, like, she's got very like starey eyes, and I don't know if that's the actress or if that's just what it's something the character
I assume
does.
it's they try and be creepy, but not like Sith creepy.
But that's what I mean. It's that weird in between where it's just like, it's kind of menacing, but it's also a bit weird. Like,
But it's like her and Sabine just have loads of staring competitions where they just. But I in my brain, I'm just sort of like, one of them is just waiting for one of them to just do that, and then they'll just start scrapping again. But I thought both of them were great. Again, a bit underused, but it's not their episode really, so that's totally fine. I thought Thrawn was great. Again, now that I know that it's like he's the guy who voiced him, because that was literally the one thing I was going to bring into this. I was like, this guy has paid so much attention to how this character sounds, but that totally makes sense. And it's probably easier to get him in to do it rather than get someone who just can do a very good impression, trying to replicate that kind of the way he talks. So I'm totally fine with that, and it works. Like aesthetically, that Star Destroyer looks hideous and like terrifying, and it just sort of like just lowers itself onto that spike so they can just walk out rather than just get a shuttle. They're like, no, we'll just land on top of it. Love it. Like again, the Night Sisters look great. Like this planet looks not barren, but is. Yeah, it's just all sort of smoke and dust and not really interesting. And then there's like those little creatures that live in, like those little nomad creatures.
The little caravans they've got, like the big shells. What are they from? Do you reckon?
I think they just sort of like travellers.
But
like,
but that's what I mean.
Budget together.
Obviously, they live in like those big shells are what they live in. But what kind of creatures left them?
Oh, I thought they were just metal. Like he was hammering a spike or something into the. It's like a caravan sort of thing.
Oh, I don't remember that bit.
It's like the gold caravan things, because like there's one guy's just like working on top of one. He's like putting an antenna into the top of it.
I do not recall that. I'll take your word for it. But obviously that bit there is where we get to finally see live action Mr. Ezra. He hasn't got blue hair. He's got black hair
and a beard.
I'm fine with that. He would.
It just did look like when I saw Sabine the first time, when I saw Ahsoka, when we saw Thrawn, when we saw all of these characters that have already had these like these animated versions of themselves before. He's the only one that I'm just sort of like, no, you don't look like him.
I thought he did
so far.
Mate.
I know that there will be a point where he'll put his outfit on and he'll shave his hair and he'll get rid of the beard or whatever, and he'll probably look exactly like him, and that's the part I'm waiting for. But if you'd have shown me a still of that and said, "Oh my god, look who that is," I'd have been like, I have no idea.
I would have.
Just some rando guy in the fucking woods.
Because that's exactly how I pictured it. Not exactly that, obviously. That's a stupid thing to say. But I imagine him with long hair and a beard because, A, in TV and movies, that's how you signify how long time's been for a man.
Aged. Yeah.
But on top of that, do you remember in what was the second new trilogy film? I forgot. I can never remember which order they are. Force Awakens, The Last Jedi,
Rise of Skywalker.
No, that's the last one.
Jedi. Rise is last. Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Yeah,
and we had The Thief, which was
The Thief.
Yeah, you know when they go to the casino planet.
Oh, Rose.
No, the guy.
Oh, no, Benicio del Toro's.
Him.
Yeah.
There was rumours that was going to be Ezra. That was a rumour for a long time.
Benicio del Toro's going to be Ezra.
Yeah, that was going to be Ezra in the cell. Which I was just like, well, that's fucking stupid because he's. Anyway, it's irrelevant. But the very first, like, kind of concept art that was ever released was Ezra with long hair and a beard, and since that's what I've always put him as because he's going to be older.
That's probably exactly what they've used as a basis for this. Then,
because all they did, they basically just took a shot from Rebels where he's got a lightsaber and he's like on the side. He's got long hair, so it's from one of the earlier seasons, and then they've put like a scar across one eye and then give him a beard. That's all they did. But I think it was fine, and I liked he had the mannerisms down where he was a little bit cheeky. I'm not sure why, because he's been there for quite a long time.
I imagine he's not exactly had much interaction with many people, to be fair. And the only ones that he has are trying to kill him.
But again, we don't know why he's separate, because I did think for a time he would have been working with Thrawn, like they would have been working together to stay alive.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, clearly that wasn't the case, but I think he's going to be pretty good. I don't think he's the best casting. I think obviously Sabine was perfect.
I think that when he you know, when he trims the hair a bit and he gets the saber out and he puts like an orange jumpsuit on or whatever, like they'll use like a classic Rebels costume. They'll put him in one of those or a modified version of it or whatever, and doing some flips and stuff and shooting someone with his lightsaber. As soon as they get that, I'll probably have a totally different opinion on it. But they had just like one scene where they just introduced him, and
I'm surprised they did.
No, I would have been furious if after all this, and we didn't get Ahsoka, we've been fannying around with Sabine on a horse talking to shoe people, like rock people, sorry, and then they did a Force Awakens, and he's just there, and then it just cuts to black. I'd have been like, oh, you fucking wankers.
That's what I thought they were going to do.
As soon as it started panning like that, I was like, well, here he is. Yeah. And I nearly, I'm not joking, I nearly went, and have I got 30 seconds of this episode left? Because this is it. Like, so the fact that they had a bit of an interaction and stuff, I'm okay with that.
That was lovely and everything else, but it's that TV trope where it's like, that was worth it because it worked, right? It did work, right? She's like, yeah. No, tell him what's happened. Tell him how you've got here and where you need to go now. And then he's obviously excited because he's happy because he's going to be going home. You might not be, mate.
Yeah, you just say, well, I'll tell you what, there's only one way I can get home as far as I'm aware, and that's this gigantic hyperspace ring thing that I had to fly in here. So we either need to capture that, or we're probably going to die here.
Yeah.
So do you want to mount up on this horse thing with me, and we'll just rocket straight back, and maybe together, maybe we'll stand a chance at getting them all, but probably not.
Not with, like, you've got two Force-sensitive mercenaries. You've got a fucking army of potentially dead stormtroopers that aren't going to feel pain if you do anything. You've got 3 fucking Night Sisters. Gonna struggle, I'll be honest.
Yeah, unless he's like, but if he's gone like, if he's gone like, oh well, I've been here for years or whatever, but I've been using that time to train. He's Luke on Dagobah.
Yeah.
He's been honing his skills. He's better than he's ever been. And he could absolutely unload on these guys if he wanted to.
I mean, but that could be the power that Balin sends.
Nah.
What I reckon that is? I think they're going to retcon the sequels.
What do you mean?
So when like Palpatine, with Snoke, and they're going on about the power that's coming from the unknown regions and stuff. They sense a great power from the unknown regions.
But I thought that was Rey. I thought that was the whole point.
No, she's not in the unknown regions.
It was her away. Well, she was just on some random fucking dust planet. I'm sure she was in the Outer Rim.
No, the unknown regions is where. So, as of the end of Rebels, that's where we thought Thrawn and Ezra was in the unknown regions, because that's where the Purgles went. Now they've gone. It's not the unknown regions. It's a completely different galaxy. But
right.
I've got a feeling they're going to like retcon it slightly to make more sense, and they're going to use the power that's on this planet
to create all the starships or what?
I don't know.
Like some giant ancient factory or something.
But it made more sense for where Palpatine then decides to fucking.
Well, Exegol was still in that galaxy though.
That's what I mean. But he's got to get his stuff from somewhere, hasn't he?
I guess.
That's just a random. Yeah,
I mean, it's possible if they just said, well, we found out a way of like bringing all these stormtroopers back to dead as like slave labor, and he's like, well, I can use that to build 100 million starships, and then the Emperor's just taking over from that after,
Maybe he's made of Purgle bones.
I can't imagine that you'd have like ancient space whale bones that can travel faster than even hyperspeed, and not do something with that, like jet armor or something like that. That's
worthwhile. The other negative to this, big negative, obviously Ray Stevenson passed away before Ahsoka started.
Still, I'm annoyed more than anything now because I'm just like, this guy not coming back. I'm gutted.
The only way I could see them bringing him back is he fights Ahsoka and Ezra, gets scarred or something, and then he starts wearing a helmet, and then they can just bring somebody back.
I think that like
they'll probably kill him off.
I think Disney or LucasArts or whatever, or Lucasfilm, sorry, they'd say that would be too disrespectful. Like we couldn't just go, oh, it's that same guy, but you can't see him now. Like they'd just be like, no, he just died. Like we'll CGI someone's face on to get the death kill or whatever, or he falls off a cliff or he kills himself to save his apprentice or whatever. That's. I just don't think they'll go, oh, he's still around. It's just he's.
This is what I mean, though. They've only got 2 episodes to do it, and they've also got to do. They've got multiple other fucking characters.
The only way I can see it playing out is that Balin and his apprentice, they find the Rock Village thing with Ezra and Sabine. They have a fight. Ezra kills Balin. Sabine manages to get one over on whatever. I can't remember her name now. They did say it in this episode as well, and I've forgotten it. And then they go back. They have to face Thrawn. Ahsoka as sort of like she fucks up all the Night Mother's things and sort of wrecks some of Thrawn's shit. They steal a hyperspace ring. They all go back and leave him there.
Nah.
That's the only way I can see it planning out.
Well, Filoni's got a Mandoverse film, and I can see Thrawn being the big bad of that.
But again, you go, well, he just found another Purgle. He tamed it. He had the Night Sisters had a horn that could call one in or something, like literally anything you can think of.
I reckon he'll get back without them, and they'll be stranded, and then they'll use the Purgle to get out, and it'll probably just be Ezra going, "Fuck yeah, why didn't I do that?" I can actually talk to them.
Yeah, but again, what's the point if they're only there and then they die immediately?
Yeah, because like the ones that are coming there on the regular, like you say, are going there to die. Whereas if these ones are just dropping her off and then fucking off again.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, the biggest issue I've got with this is Balin. He's just seen. So he's said to Sabine, he was like, "Look, you give me the map. I'll take you. I'll help you meet Ezra or whatever." I never got the impression from him, or at least he never said it, that he intended to go back on that promise. Whereas Thrawn was like, yeah, you go off and meet Ezra. And then he's like, yeah, as soon as she meets him, kill him immediately. And he goes, okay, fair enough.
Well, no, because he hasn't...
Why did he not think, well, if you're so quick to turn your back on that promise and you're a maniac, why would I go off and do that? Because you're probably just going to use that Star Destroyer to just shoot a million lasers at me and kill me off as well. His
goal was to get to the planet. He's always sensed that there was power on the planet.
Oh, do you reckon he was just sort of like, I'll use this as a reason to get there.
Yeah,
and then
I don't think
he has that whole thing off.
Yeah, I don't think he has any intention of leaving.
But then why would he wouldn't even bother going after Ezra and Sabine? Then he'd just go, right, let's just go off and find
We don't know that he actually is. Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, I'd really appreciate that. If he just got the nod to say, yeah, just take some dog horses or whatever, and off you go. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll get right on that. And he's like, that's where I'm going. I just happen to be given a free pass out of the door. And that's it. I'm okay now. I'd love it if they did that. Because then he can just go off and do his own adventures.
I can't remember the exact wording of it, but it's basically that he can they can create something better for him and her there because of the power that he sensed. But obviously, they're not that far away. It's took Sabine 10 minutes to find Ezra, and Thrawn hasn't been able to find him. So
no, he said we'll give you all the intelligence as to where. Like he's pointed her in the right direction.
Oh no, because
if he was genuinely interested in finding this guy, what else have they got to do there? They would literally just stalk that planet until they found him and just shoot him from the sky. Well, they just keep on blasting him until he's definitely dead.
I was really annoyed because I thought it was going to be like the Golden Mask guy when he comes.
Yeah, you assumed that was he was going to be like, "Da-da, it's me all along."
That's what
I've been brainwashed or whatever.
And then especially when he got to the platypus horse thing, and then he's just like "Gumchow" or whatever he says, and he sits, and I was like, Ezra can speak to animals, so probably fucking Ezra. That's really annoying. Luckily, it wasn't. But because that would have been cheap as shit.
To be fair, they probably did that on purpose. They were like, it's the old bait and switch.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, this fancy guard. Oh, the one that's dead close to him, whatever.
Especially as his helmet had like the red markings on his helmet, which Ezra didn't have those, but he always had like a clone trooper or a stormtrooper helmet, whatever. Always had some odd markings on it, so you knew it was Ezra. And I was like, man, I don't like this. And then it wasn't. So I did expect him to gone a bit semi-dark though.
Now he just looks like his Ezra lives under a bridger.
He
looks like that just popped into my head, and I was like, I can't wait for you to segue back into that. I've got to drop it in now.
He still looked pretty sexy.
I mean, yeah, like those eyes were like clearly like some mad contacts.
Oh yeah,
like
they definitely
those
are.
eyes.
Well, I mean, they've gone to that effort, but they didn't even give him blue hair. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, at least Sabine's got like very deep purple hair.
Well, she had like orange and yellow and a bit of purple, and just obviously she cut her hair off. It was different.
Yeah, but it was. But it felt like purple's her natural colour, and then she dyed it orange, and then that's just the roots underneath. That's why she's cut it off.
Like
properly.
even when his head was shaved, it was blue. And for this, just do that weird midnight blue that looks a bit black, but then in the light you can see the blue. I'd be fine with that, but this just
I've done that
like
by mistake. Like when I had black hair, I bought cosmic blue.
Yeah.
And it was you couldn't really tell unless there was like a very bright light on you, but it was as soon as you noticed it, or as soon as I pointed it out, which I rarely did. It was like, oh, that's very obviously not actual black, is it? That's definitely a dark blue.
But that would have been fine. I'd be fine with that. But if you're gonna give him blue, like proper, like, because they were very like a pearly blue in Rebels, like they were very bright, like light. And then if you're gonna go to that effort, give him blue hair. I suppose then they'd have to give him a blue beard.
Yeah, and Thor kind of ruined that for everybody.
But I think he's fine, and I liked him, and we didn't get to see a lot of him, obviously. But for what we did see, which was more than I expected, but I'm glad they did. But because they've really got 2 episodes left, and I don't want them.
I don't think this is going to be a contained season. I think this is going to be
which is good.
And then they get a Purgle back, and then there's Zeb and there's Hera, and they're all back together, and then they go, oh no, but now it's a new thing.
It's a good point. We haven't seen
Stay tuned for season 2. I would imagine it's because he's a fully CG character. They want to use something like that sparingly because, one, that means he has to interact with real people, which is blindingly obvious when it's not a real person talking to a real person. And 2, it's very expensive.
Keep him in a ship. Flying around, and it just cuts to him, and he's like, Gabbarads.
No, you can't ever have him say that.
Oh, of course he will.
No.
I'm pretty sure he said it in Mando.
But it's gross. Like it's like when in the Justice League when they got fucking Cyborg to go booyah. It's like, oh god, if you're not gonna do it with a stupid mouth that's this big, then you don't do it.
Burn cosmetic cheese, but
right, you can't have that. And then it's the Miles Dyson. It's just sort of giving him a lecture about, oh, I'm so sorry I created your son or whatever, and he's like, it's a meatball party. Right? You can't do it. You just can't do it.
It might have made it a better film. But I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, if anybody obviously could pull it off, Disney can. They've got the money and the capabilities of doing it. But I think an easier thing would be, obviously he's a pilot now. He's not just a rebel. Got a badge and a fucking uniform and everything. Just keep him in a fucking X-wing.
You could do,
and then
yeah. I mean, he was just sort of like behind a bar, like.
Well, he sat there, wasn't he? And then he fucked off in the back. But all you gotta do is just cut to him every now and again because he's not talking directly to someone. He's just flying around. That'd be the easiest way. That's how I would do it if I was a lazy so. But no, I'm just disappointed. Not disappointed. I'm surprised. Because this could be the only time we get all the rebel team together.
It will happen. They will all be on screen, except Kanan, obviously. They will all be on screen once. You could actually, yeah, you could. But then, if that's the case, then that would be another reason for me to be like, okay, well then Ezra could have just been on this planet, Force Ghost training this whole fucking time.
Maybe
he could be the absolute hot shit by now.
Maybe he was.
But that's what I mean. Explain it away rather than just he's just been sat with a bunch of nomad rocks for 6 years, whatever.
Maybe they're all Jedi.
Also, time is relative, right?
Yeah.
You travel to a different galaxy, there is no way that the same passage of time has affected you. He would either be exactly the same age when they arrived, or he could be 150,000 years older.
Yes.
He just ages really well, yeah?
No, I mean, I imagine he was the same age, like when he got there, he was the same age as when he left. But then he's been there for X amount of years.
Yeah, but again, time is relative.
Yeah, but that's trying to put like science onto. They rode
Fancy.
a fucking whale together.
Yeah, but maybe there's a way of
he made
biologically explaining it away.
little
maybe.
fucking medallions for crabs.
They're turtles.
Potato. Crustacean crustato. But I said I wouldn't put too much. Like I say,
No, I'm winding you up.
For like I said, movies and TV, the easiest way to show how long time has been for a male character
or
is
a
make
bit
them older, or make them grey. Yeah. And that's obviously what they've done here. And I don't think they'll shave his head off. I think he'll shave his beard.
Well, they cut Sabine's hair down to standard size, so
They did.
they'll tidy him up. I think he'll come out of a bathroom and he'll be clean shaven and
I hope they
stubbled,
don't.
maybe.
Yeah, me. I love a bearded man.
But if you want that, they made a whole point of having a mural of exactly what they fucking look like in the animated show. There is no way that they will not have. They're gonna have
Not exactly
Sabine
what they
with
look
the
like.
hair.
Kanan had eyes.
Well, yeah, but you can't go. Who's that blind guy in the back? Don't worry about it. It's 6 seasons of a show. I'm not going to explain to you.
Well, I reckon when they get them all together, they'll be stood in front of that fucking mural.
Probably, yeah, looking at each other, going, "Oh God."
Oh no, they'll be like,
those are the days.
They'll be looking at it, and then they'll turn around, and then like Zeb will be where Zeb is, Ezra's where Ezra is, blah blah blah, and then the only one that's left will be Kanan, which will just be the cartoon one.
Yeah. Or you could put Ahsoka in there.
Nah.
Well, she's the sort of the Jedi. She knows what she's doing character.
I love Kanan.
Well, then he shouldn't have died.
I told him not to. He wouldn't listen to me. That's what I'm more gutted about. I wish they never died, because then we could have got Freddie Prinze Jr. in, who does look a lot like Kanan.
But again, you can just go, well, there's just the Force is just not. He's not dead.
No, he didn't want to come back. He was asked. He didn't want to. He said he was very happy with how he left. Like it was.
Well, there you go then. Again, and if they didn't just go, do you want to come back and do this? And he went, no, I don't think it'd be. Okay, well, fine, we'll find someone else then.
No, it was
like that. They go, okay, well, fine, we'll
Yeah.
keep him.
Well,
they seem to respect the story that's been
yeah
played out so far.
Yeah, because it wasn't like he's not one of them that have, from what I've read, where he's like, nah, far past that now. It's Star Wars. It's for kids, but it's just like it takes away what happened. Like if you could just come back and then there's no.
It's Superman.
Yeah.
You kill Superman, and then he comes back the next movie.
Yeah.
Well, then it doesn't matter if he gets killed again because he just comes back.
Bring
this
it
time
back.
again, won't
Yeah,
he?
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, you say, yeah, if you got to do it, then you've got to have to do it, and then he doesn't come back for fucking a long fucking time later, like obviously they do in the comics. But no, I'm glad they didn't. It's just annoying because in terms of casting, obviously Freddie Prinze Jr. voiced him, but he could very easily be a live action Kanan physically as well. So that's annoying, but I'm loving it because it's just live action Rebels, and I think that's why Ahsoka's taken a back seat to her own show because Filoni's gone, I want to do a new season of Rebels, and Disney gone, well no, because we did it, we did the final season, and you go, what can I do? And they go, you can do Ahsoka. They go, okay, Rebels.
She was in Rebels for 3 minutes. That's a decent enough segue, I guess.
And because that's all they've done. It's just.
I know, but I just again, don't get me wrong. I'm really enjoying it, and I liking all the Rebel stuff that's in it. But I am gutted that she's taking a backseat because again, she was technically Darth Vader's apprentice.
Yeah. Well,
like that's a really interesting character.
But at the same time, I will say, what we've had in Ahsoka is what we've already had in Clone Wars and Rebels. So we're not learning anything new about her.
But that's the problem I've got is that again it's a great representation of the Ahsoka that we've seen, and again even the kid version is just sort of like that is
perfect.
Yeah, it's like that's kind of exactly what I imagine the live action sort of kid Ahsoka sort of running around in the Clone Wars would be, and then Hayden Christensen again he's coming in and he's killing it as well.
Just like all them kids.
Also, like how many people like get to like get a bit more of an extra lesson from their master when they're not just sort of sat under a tree just going, well, the thing about wisdom, you must all the petals fall from
be fair,
trees.
Ezra.
You go, no, I'm going to fight you until you learn a lesson here.
Like fucking ride or die, bitch.
Yeah, right? It's just sort of like, no, I can teach you all through combat than I can through books. Thank you very much.
But it was, again, that showed the kind of teacher that Anakin was. Like, he was military. And
It's a soldier, yeah definitely.
And like I say, it's everything that they've done for Ahsoka has been very, very good. But we're not learning anything new. And
I suppose they could go, well, you had the Tales of the Jedi. That's you got a childhood backstory thing.
Yeah, well,
we're not going to go in and do that again. Like, she killed that Inquisitor. Like, she bounced around and did all the sort of like Jedi undercover stuff.
It's
so
more than capable, but it seems like they've just gone, right, we need Mando can't be the bridge between the shows because he's never met any of these fucking rebels.
But Rosario Dawson, she's got experience of bridging the gap between multiple TV shows, so we'll get her in again.
I don't mean that, but I've only just literally realised that, yes, they've already done that with one of her characters with the Marvel stuff. But I mean, like, obviously, Mando you can't because he's never met. Maybe he may have met Sabine once upon a time. Unlikely, but
it would be an absolute stretch.
That's what I mean. That's a real long shot. But he has met, obviously, Bo-Katan, who has.
Yeah.
But whereas Ahsoka, she's already met all the Rebels crew. She already knows everything going on. She already knows Thrawn. She's already met Mando. She knows about it. So it makes sense to have her be that person that she's now the centre of this Mandoverse in order to bring everyone together. But to do that, you need to move the folk. Once you're introduced, and you go, right, she knows Sabine and she knows Hera. She knows this. Once they're introduced, she's going to get pushed to the side while these get brought forward. And I think that'll happen for the rest of this season. Probably into the next one as well, I reckon.
It must be weird, like, as an actor or an actress.
Easy money.
That you're cast in a show and you're the lead character and your character's name is the name of the show and you're the least seen person in it.
I mean,
I would love to see. There must be someone who's done the numbers already, but like, actual screen time. I mean, I imagine that like that last episode's probably bumped her numbers right up. But also, she was sharing that screen time with a kid. It wasn't her.
It's still the character, though, isn't it?
But if I'm getting paid per minute on screen, I'm getting ripped off here because like, this is my show, right? And I'm barely in it.
I imagine it's like a salad. They'll go, we'll give you $5
No, I know. Again,
million
that's a stupid exaggeration of it, but. If you were, so I know there's like certain actors and actresses that are sort of like, well, I want my face to be, it needs to be in it at least every other scene or blah, 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 some awful contracts that they have written. But if, I doubt she would be, like, again, to be a part of this and you go, well, I can just be this character forever now.
I think as long as, if you are, because she strikes you as someone that's a fan of the character. Maybe not necessarily a big Star Wars fan, but she's fallen in love with this character.
She's committed, yeah definitely.
And
again, to commit to the fighting and the physical elements of it and stuff like that, you can't just do that half-heartedly.
She seems to be like proper fully into it, and I think if you are at that stage, as long as the story makes sense and it's moving in a good positive direction, you could probably miss 4 out of the 8 episodes where you're not in it, as long as it's progressing good and it's not like Boba Fett where they just go, just put Mando in it. It doesn't make any sense at all, but this ain't working. Get fucking Ahsoka, get Grogu back, get Luke in it. It doesn't make any sense, whereas this at least does.
Even though the episode that she gets all to herself, it's completely stolen by Hayden Christensen. I mean, I'm not joking. I think it's not just because, like, oh my god, it's Anakin, what a cool appearance. It's the fact that he's just so comfortable in it.
That's the same as
like
Obi-Wan,
he upstaged her,
and
I'm just sort of like, yeah. But again, like you say, he's just come off the back of Obi-Wan. He's he's won a lot of people's opinions, sort of saying like, God, look at him, but now that he's got a chance to shine, he's got some decent stuff to do and things to say.
Imagine if this was the Anakin we had in the prequels.
I don't think this Anakin could have been in the prequels.
I was like,
he's too terrifying.
Well, I think we did talk about it last time, but when he was asked to come back for Obi-Wan, he went and watched all of the Clone Wars cartoons, and he based it off that Anakin, not his Anakin that actually started.
Yeah, the one that's been fleshed out properly.
But if it's the same as that though. Like Obi-Wan as a show is not very good. The good bits are the bits with Vader. They're the best bits of the show. It was better than Boba Fett, but only marginally so. And I think until we get past that wow factor of this is a really fucking cool Anakin, and he's very much like he was in the Clone Wars, and it's cool to see a live representation of it, and Hayden Christensen looks real good for his fucking age and everything else. Until we get past that, I think he'll just upstage, and that will just be the case. It's the same as like we could do this, and then for whatever reason, like they run back to the fucking Chimera, and they're like, "You'll never get away with this throne," and he's like, "Won't I?" And then he just turns into Palpatine, and they go, "What the fuck?" Like, even though it doesn't make sense, that'll just blow your fucking mind.
Yeah.
Just because it's cool seeing somebody from the movies interact with these TV characters, and I think it's just a cool thing. And then until it goes away, because I think it also helps that it's better than the Luke reveal, because it's actually because he's not all CGI'd and deep faked and stuff. It looks more real because it is. He's there, whereas we got this slightly off looking young Luke Skywalker. It's a bit weird. But I don't know. I think this is the first time I can honestly say I like Hayden Christensen as Anakin, and I've never said that before.
I think he was great in Obi-Wan.
Oh no, like that's what I mean. Like in these.
Oh, this like new iteration. Yeah. He just seems to have just found his place, and like people seem to be directing him right, and they've written the right things for him. But like, just the just sort of the weird looks on like, because again, it's not as if it's like it's Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen kind of coming back together after 10 years or whatever. Like Rosario Dawson, like they haven't got that history. Like those actors haven't got that history, but she still played that character as like Anakin.
Yeah.
Like what? But there's also sort of like, oh my god, it's Anakin. It's like, but it's not Vader. It's the guy I remember. It's the guy that I fought with. It's the guy that trained me. Yeah. I just think that it was difficult for her to have like, she's going up against Vader, like acting chops wise, like someone who's very comfortable in that character, whilst she's desperately trying to find screen time in her own
show.
Imagine if the Obi-Wan show that they'd done, and he's only in 3 episodes.
I mean, I'd be fine with that. It wouldn't have made a difference to the show.
It would have just, or Andor. And it's all the people who know Andor, and it's all the mates who Andor had, but Andor's never in it.
Depending on how it could work with something like that, because you're not massively invested in Andor as a character until towards the end of it, because you people know him from Rogue One, but he doesn't do there's a lot of the episodes of Andor where he doesn't do anything. He just talks very quietly about a plan that they're still not fucking acting on. Like, we're gonna do this plan. When? We're gonna do it. When? No. Go back to this guy eating cereal.
But that's the thing. Imagine if that was that guy's show.
Yeah.
And that's all they showed of him.
Eating cereal.
Just him getting told off by his mom and stalking a security officer.
Yeah. But
you'd have been like, oh, I don't want to watch the serial security nerd anymore.
I mean, it sounds pretty awesome. I'll be honest, I like cereal. But dependent on the context of it, it can work. So a show like Andor might even benefit from moving the focus off Andor and onto the other people that he's working with.
Which is fine, but then don't call it Andor. Call it New Rebels.
Yeah.
Call it something else. Call it, anything other than just that focuses on one thing. If The Mandalorian was called
Grogu.
The Mandalorians, and it was like 6 of them that were all sort of milling around doing bits and pieces or whatever, you'd be like, well, I like that Mandalorian, so I want to
follow that one.
follow that Mandalorian around. Or if you were going, oh, it's Mando, it's Pedro Pascal's Mando, but then the new series of The Mandalorian is this new creed that he's found, and it's all of them, and it's all their various stories, you'd be annoyed. You'd be like, well, then just have a separate creed of Mandalorian, or the Mandalore. And it's all the Mandalorians back on Mandalore, and it's Bo-Katan, it's all that. But it doesn't focus on him. So that's fine, because it's not his show.
Yeah.
If you name it after a person, you expect the show to focus on that person.
I mean, it happened.
And the fact that it's Ahsoka, it's just not about her.
I mean, I think this is the first episode that's... She was in it for, like, 5 minutes at the beginning.
She's in it before and then it goes, da, 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 da. And then she's never in it again.
That's what I mean, like, this is the only one where they've done that.
But there's a few where it's more about Sabine than it is about her.
But that could also be introducing people that haven't watched Rebels to who this character is.
And again, I'm absolutely fine with that, and I'm okay with using Ahsoka as a launch platform, because she's shown up in Mando for the first time in live action.
Yeah.
And everyone who knows the Clone Wars, and they've seen various other media where she's been a part of it, that's very exciting. But if you've never seen anything to do with the Clone Wars, and that's the first time you've seen Ahsoka, it's like, oh my god, this is a cool Jedi, like cutting people down in a forest or whatever, and she's, she knows Grogu and blah blah blah, and then you could use that as a launch platform to get her into Rebels. But then don't call it Ahsoka, call it something that's based around connecting that follow universe.
And their mates.
Just
Rebels.
The Rebels.
Call it Rebels.
Yeah, because then it goes, well, it's like that other show called Rebels. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's why this show is exactly then.
All about them. Call it Chopper. Anyway,
that's the one thing that's I'm glad he's only been in it 3 times so far. I'm okay with that.
I think it's just expensive.
But it's the same as the kids. Like, I don't want that kid just showing up and saving the day or some fucking shit like that.
He will. He's a new generation
Absolutely not.
Twilight Jedi, so he's got to be force sensitive.
Well, they've already shown that he is.
No, but I mean, like, he's got to be, because he'll be the new breed. And then Ezra will come back, and Ezra will go, "Hey, Jason, your dad trained me, so I'm going to train you." Okay.
And then he turns into a... Also, I'm still annoyed that like, suit of armour Sith... Nothing.
Well, that's what makes me think, like, that he was raised from the dead.
Well, because he was just like a ghost or whatever.
And that's what the Stormtroopers will do.
Yeah, maybe.
Because he also had the voice modulated thing to talk. And so
that's true.
So is this other golden trooper guy.
The face. Yeah.
So which makes
it's possible.
Yeah, so that's what I reckon.
But then how's he ended up here?
Because, no, not that nice. Because she's done that, I mean.
Oh, I see. So that was her attempt at, like, making a... Maybe. Yeah. I'd be okay with that.
Makes sense to me. And I'm the smartest person I know.
Yep.
Anyway, we're going to call it there, because we have gone well over time, Daniel. Well over. But it's a pleasure as always. And if you want to see more, you can go to podcastversusplayer.com. It's all going along the bottom of the screen. We've got more podcast reviews, let's plays, and a ton of other things, including this week's sponsor, which is Find brand new K669D microphone. Dan, see you on the next one.
Indeed.
And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.